as far as how the public responded, I think a lot of things were done to make us look this way. Now everybody focused on race, and it's so much race conversation that members ain't even prepared for the case. I mean, how the defendant not ready? And I don't even think that falls on Mr. Anthony. I think that falls on the attorney.
Willie D. Live.
So you heard the 911 call. Was there anything in that 911 call that could have been helpful or hurtful to either side that wasn't emphasized during the trial?
Not really to me, because you don't hear him say who's around him. You see what I'm saying? When I listen to a 911 call, I'm trying to see who's all in the room, because I want to subpoena them as a witness. I'm trying to see, how many, who else called the police, who was all there, who saw, who heard, whatever. On the 911 call, he's pretty much just hysterical, and he's saying that the guy's bleeding, and and I think he describes Mr. Anthony as standing on the field or something. But he don't really say anything like, hey Chris, pass me that ice, or hey Chris, hold his legs, or it's nothing really that you could grab off of there to use to, turn it into something helpful to me. Now I do hope that and I wrote the guy's name down, I ain't gonna say it, but he says his name on the recording. And I do hope they cross-examined him or called him as a witness. Because it seemed like they didn't have much to play with. So I hope that that's something they sunk their teeth into. I wasn't there though, but yeah, I hope they did.
Yeah. What do you think about the public reaction to all of this, man? Do you think that social media has made things more clear in terms of viewing the evidence for the public? Or do you think that it actually has made objective analysis more difficult?
I think people's concern and their question of his attorney and this entire situation are legitimate. I think the questions are legitimate. I think that there's no way for somebody like me that went to law school to see this go on and not have questions. I think the Frisco Police Department kind of did some weird stuff too by letting people go down and watch the video. You see, I don't really trust that. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but you got to understand, me being a defense attorney, the prosecutor is required by law to give me everything, right? So there's a very controlled environment where that happens, right? And I get everything. So I could figure out if it's something you ain't giving me. You see what I'm saying? But how they know that's the full video? Who's regulating when the video starts, when the video, you know what I'm saying? And I've never had a murder case where people in the public were allowed, and they were broadcasting that they were allowed to go down and watch the tape. It's almost like they were trying to taint the jury pool under the radar. You see what I'm saying? If it's I don't know numbers, if it's 2 million people in Collin County and 200,000 of them seen the video, I mean, you see what I'm saying? Now, I know 200,000 people didn't see the video, but I'm just saying, you don't know who's going to be called down to be on your jury. And you letting random people just come see the evidence. Jury not supposed to even see the evidence until the case starts. They're not supposed to feel no kind of way about the evidence. They're not allowed to read anything online about the trial during the trial. They're not allowed to go home and talk to their husband about it. They're not none of that until you start deliberating. That's when. You see what I'm saying? So, that was just very weird of them. And it's almost like this fake transparency, right? Think about this, Willie. You letting random people come watch the video at the police station, but the judge ain't letting no black reporters in. Are you transparent or are you not transparent? You see what I'm saying? Do it's kind of like they hiding the ball somewhere. Like, why would you be this transparent over here with the evidence, but don't nobody except people that was in the courtroom know what's going on in the courtroom? You see what I'm saying? It's kind of like a fake. It's like a pump fake. I don't trust it. So you ask, how do I feel about people's response, the public's response? And what I'm saying is, I think there were a lot of things done to kind of confuse the public and to make them choose a side. I mean, how people going to see the same video and some people saying it was punches, it wasn't no punches. Now we're not arguing if it was self-defense. We arguing if he was even under umbrella, if he was even under the umbrella at the time. Now we arguing if it was, it's just it was too much going on, man. And I think that, we should have been a lot more quiet about our approach. That's how I would have been as an attorney. I wouldn't have done no press conferences. I wouldn't have threw the race card out there. I wouldn't have done. Them folk wouldn't have knew what I was doing until I hit them with it. Until I had my suit and my briefcase, they wouldn't have knew what I was doing. Do I think race plays a role in this? I kind of do, but that's something that you kind of that's something you keep in your back pocket until it's time to pull it out. You feel me? You don't leave with that and let these white folks know for a year what your angle is. You see what I'm saying? That's something I would have kept in my back pocket. And out of these 21 witnesses, all the pieces of evidence that come in, soon as something comes in to support more that it was a race thing, that's when you bring it out. That way they ain't ready for it. They got to think on their feet. You see what I'm saying? I'm gonna think on my feet. See, if you can't think on your feet, you're not a good attorney. You're not a good trial attorney. So all that letting them know what the play was and being in the media, I just think that kind of hurt. But that's the past, though. That's the past. I don't mean to be negative. I don't want our people to think that I'm, that's the past. But as far as how the public responded, I think a lot of things were done to make us look this way. Now everybody focused on race, and it's so much race conversation that MFs ain't even prepared for the case. I mean, how the defendant not ready? And I don't even think that falls on Mr. Anthony. I think that falls on the attorney. I don't just lean over and whisper in my client's ear, "Hey, you ready to go next? You testify next," and put it on him. I don't do that. I done had 17 and 1. I ain't never did that in 12 years. I've never. You prepare them. You do psychodrama. You ask some questions for you to get to know him. You ask some questions for him to get to know himself. You talk about why he thinks the way he thinks. Then after you do all the preliminaries, then you have him tell you the story over and over and over again until he's so comfortable with it he can say it in his sleep. Then it don't matter what the DA done did in trial. Because see, my defendants, they be like this, Willie. Is it my turn yet? Okay. They be ready.
Yeah.
they be ready. You know what I'm saying? There don't be no, 10 minutes. Oh, this my time. And we prepared for this. So, But yeah, very unfortunate. But I think he got a good shot, man, with the team he has, man. Yeah, a whole lot of faith in them boys, man. Russell and Justin, man, and them other attorneys, excuse me. Whole lot of faith.
Yeah. It was reported that the father, Jeff Metcalf, had a barbecue and he invited the witnesses to his house. And it was also reported that he offered bribes to the witnesses to make sure that they testified in a way that was consistent with the outcome that he wanted. If that is true, that is definitely grounds for a retrial, right?
If that is true, that needs to be investigated to the fullest extent. I don't know if it gets him an automatic new trial, but I know it gets him something.
Wouldn't that be criminal of him to do something like that also?
Yeah, that's witness tampering for sure. But him getting charged with witness tampering because of it and Karmelo getting an entire new trial, I think that probably is in the realm of possibility, but that's a long road. Appeal is a long road, period. But I think maybe going at the improper things that were done by the judge, that could be backed up with some law. See, an appeal, you want to throw the kitchen sink at them. You want to throw everything at them. You probably throw your strongest argument first, and then, everything else fall by the wayside. But you need law to support it. So you want to, all you need to do is prove one issue. You see what I'm saying? So if you throw 15 issues at them and you only prove one, if it's irreversible error, you'll win. But like I say, an appeal is a long process. He has a good team of attorneys that will do, all the legwork and all the legal work that needs to be done in order to do the process right and see that he's treated fairly. But, people need to know, 90% of appeals get denied. You see what I'm saying? So this ain't really something we want to rush on. This is something we want to make sure we get right. And the attorneys that he has, I think they'll get it right. I think they'll be very meticulous. and they'll make sure that every box is checked and every stone is overturned for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, if this had happened 10 years ago, do you think that the public's response would have been the same, considering that people wasn't as active on social media?
I think it probably would have been the same. You know, black community been through a lot, man. We've been through a lot during the social media era, man. You know, unarmed people getting killed by the popo, and I mean, we got a lot of reasons to feel the way we feel, to the multitude that we feel it. You know, I think it would have been the same 10 years ago. You know, and I ain't mad at us neither. You know, who gonna look after us but us? But we want to make sure that we know what the law says. We want to make sure that we know what the facts were, and then we want to move. You know, in the best way we can to help that boy out.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, I think probably would have been the same. Man, you think it would have been different?
No, I think it would have been the same because we didn't have social media, but we got the news, which mainstream news, you can't really trust mainstream news, but mainstream news is such media hogs that they will put any story out, and anybody that want to talk, they got to keep on putting information out. They just gonna feed the beast, and so someone's going to be. They're gonna show both sides. They're gonna show the protest, and they're gonna show the supporters. They're gonna show both sides because that makes for good media for them, and it does well for them in regards to the numbers.
Yeah, I agree, man. I agree. I mean, social media might have been a little bit more wild 10 years ago, honestly. So, yeah.
Well, I think that I think Carmelo is going to fall into that 10% where he gets that new trial. Oftentimes, you can argue law when it comes to appeals. You can argue law, and you may have a great point, but you may not get that appeal because, hey, nobody's really paying attention to the case and nobody cares. But the world eyes is on this case. And so they got to now dot those I's and cross those T's. Little old Collin County thought they were going to be able to hang this boy and bury the case and nobody would care. And little did they know, that's why I believe that they did not allow cameras into the courtroom. I think they were trying to quietly make this thing go down. We gonna do what we want to do. We gonna hang him high. I'm gonna give him a 35-year sentence, and ain't nothing nobody gonna be able to do about it.